Tonight on ABC News Live Prime, election officials in Fulton County, Georgia today saying the seizure of ballots there could be coming to a city near you if the midterms do not go the president's way. It's been more than 5 years since President Biden won the 2020 election, but President Trump overnight again posting about discredited conspiracy theories. Tonight we talked to the chairman of the Fulton County Board of Commissioners. And breaking news from Minneapolis, with tensions escalating, border czar Tom Homan tonight arguing DHS operations in the Twin Cities have not been perfect, announcing he'll draw down some federal forces. Meantime, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem facing bipartisan calls to step down after the shooting death of Alex Preddy. Also, another nor'easter threatening the East Coast, especially the Carolinas and Virginia. Almost half the country will soon be under alert for more brutal cold and snow.
I'm Rhiannon Alley reporting from New York Harbor, where icebreakers have been out in full force to keep shipping lanes open and ferries in service.
Plus, in tonight's Prime Focus, voices of an uprising. We talked to Iranian protesters risking their lives, taking to the streets to fight the iron grip rule of the country's theocratic leaders. We'll hear the violent firsthand accounts of security forces gunning down citizens in the streets.
من نمیتونم سکوت کنم. من واقعا نمیتونم تحمل کنم. من گفت روبینا تنها نبود. خیلی ها بودن. صدها جوری افتاده بود رو هم. من دونه دونه باید بین اینا بگشته پیداش کنه و
And the 25-year-old woman who just this morning finished her crossing of the Atlantic, rowing the entire distance by herself. And are you a night owl? A new study is out about the health risks you could be facing.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is Prime with Lindsay Davis.
Good evening. I'm Perry Russaman for Lindsay Davis. Thank you for streaming with us. We begin with the outrage over the unprecedented FBI raid of the Fulton County Election Office. Questions and fury are mounting after the FBI seized numerous documents related to the 2020 election. Georgia election officials slamming the Trump administration today and say the move is about intimidation and distraction. They made it clear they have nothing to hide. President Trump has repeatedly made baseless claims about the 2020 election, specifically in Georgia. And lawmakers are blasting the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, seen in photos outside the facility during the search. We'll speak with the chairman of the Fulton County Board of Commissioners in just a moment. Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas leads us off with the latest.
Tonight, officials in Fulton County, Georgia, rattled and furious after the FBI raided their election office, seizing ballots from the 2020 election.
We do not know where our election records have been taken or what will happen to them. I don't know where they are. I don't know who has them. I don't know what they're doing with them.
Fulton County Commissioner Rob Pitts insists any honest review of the files will show only one thing, that the election was fair and that Joe Biden won.
We in Fulton County have nothing to hide.
Biden won the popular vote in 2020 by more than 7 million votes, and the Electoral College 306 to 232. It was not close. But more than 5 years later, President Trump remains fixated on the election, overnight sharing a flurry of conspiracy theories, including discredited schemes implicating countries like China and even Italy in election meddling. His director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, who's meant to be apolitical and focused on protecting the U.S. from terrorist attacks and espionage, yesterday traveling to Georgia, where she was spotted at the scene of the FBI raid. Democrats sounding the alarm.
What the heck is she doing on the FBI serving a domestic warrant? You know, if this doesn't concern the heck out of every American, it sure as hell should.
And Democratic Senator Mark Warner, the vice chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, says Gabbard has no place in this investigation.
To see her skulking around in a baseball cap, the picture that was posted, you never thought you could make this stuff up.
Pierre Thomas joins us now. Pierre, this comes amid a broader uncertainty for many election officials toward the Trump administration's efforts to obtain voter rolls from other states. Most recently, Attorney General Pam Bondi pushed Minnesota to turn over its voter rolls. What more do we know about where that stands?
Well, Perry, even if Trump had won Georgia, it would not have been enough to win the 2020 election. But he's been fixated on his loss for more than 5 years. And as you said, now Attorney General Pam Bondi is demanding the voter rolls of other states, Perry.
Pierre Thomas, thank you. For more on this, let's bring in Rob Pitts. He is the chairman of the Fulton County Board of Commissioners. Rob, thank you for joining us. So what is your biggest concern with these records being taken?
Well, my biggest concern right now is as long as the records were in control, we had control of the records in our warehouse, they were safe and secure. Once they left our facility last night, we don't know where they are, we don't know who has them, we don't know what's happening to them. So that is a major concern for us at this time.
Should people in Fulton County be concerned with the FBI having their voting records?
Well, I'm concerned, and I think that people should be concerned. Again, as long as we had them, they were safe and secure, and any personal information, anything contained in those 700 boxes was under our control. Once they left, we no longer have control. Don't know again where they are, who has them, what they're doing with them, whether they're being tampered with or what. So that is a major concern for me, and it's probably a major concern for every citizen of Fulton County, Georgia.
Do you think they could be tampered with?
That's me. I've been using my imagination, thinking of all of the possibilities. This whole thing was so unusual. I'm told that typically you receive some communication from the FBI that on such and such a date and time, a search is going to take place. In this case, nothing like that happened. I'm here in my office about to have lunch. We get a phone call from a worker saying the FBI is here. I contact our county attorney. We rush there. First and foremost, to make sure that our employees were safe, then also to make sure that we complied with everything that the FBI was looking for. And that's what we did. So again, it's so unusual, and I've spoken with a number of attorneys, not only locally but nationally. They all concur. This is very unusual, and I'll be very honest with you. I think that this was probably, the confiscation of those records, I don't believe is the issue. I think that's a distraction for something else that's bigger that's going on.
What do you think that is?
Well, I think it may be with our state elections board. There's some talk about a desire to take over Fulton County elections. There's a lot going on here that I need to be concerned about as chairman of this great county.
So you said that you will fight this with every resource that you have. What does a win look like for you?
Well, first and foremost, we want our records back, so to make sure that they're safe and secure, that they have not been tampered with. That's job number one. And job number two, leave us alone. I've told them back in 2020, stay the hell out of Fulton County. We know what we're doing. We've been audited, we've been reviewed, and in every instance, we get a clean bill of health. So just leave us alone, let us go about it. In fact, since 2020, we've had some 17 elections, almost flawless, but it always goes back to 2020 for whatever reason.
How can you tell?
The results are not going to change.
How can you tell if records are tampered with?
That's a $64,000 question. I do not know.
You don't know at all? So theoretically, records could be tampered with and you wouldn't be able to tell?
That's probably true because, again, who knows what's going on? We don't know. Use your imagination. We don't know where they are. We don't know who has them. We don't know what's going on. That's what's so unusual about this. We don't have copies. I'm told that typically we would be given an opportunity to make copies or have copies made for us. Nothing like that happened. So we have no idea. We're clueless as to what's going on.
President Trump has been focusing on Fulton County for quite some time now. What is your message to the president?
Well, leave Fulton County alone. Since 2020, as a matter of fact, nothing is going to change about the 2020 election. They're over, they're done with, the votes have been counted multiple times, even hand counts. Results are always the same. Our elections are fair. We've known for years that Fulton County is a target for the administration. Why? I don't know. We've known that Fulton County, Georgia is a target. We've known that that the Secretary of State's a target. We've been told that I, as chair of the Fulton County Commission, that I am a target because all of this happened right here in Fulton County, Georgia.
Rob Pitts, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Now to new developments from Minneapolis. Border Czar Tom Homan signaling plans to draw down some federal forces in the city amid escalating tensions after the deadly shootings of 2 U.S. citizens. Homan vowing to stay, quote, until the problem is gone. Meanwhile, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem continues to face calls to step down. Matt Rivers is in Minneapolis.
Tonight, the dramatic turn in Minneapolis amid escalating tensions after the shooting death of ICU nurse Alex Preddy and questions over the tactics being used here. Border Czar Tom Homan, who was sent in to replace Greg Bovino, tonight announcing he will draw down some federal forces, but insisting we are not surrendering.
I'm staying till the problem's gone. I didn't come here looking for photo ops or headlines. I come here looking for solutions.
But this new drawdown comes amid serious questions about how DHS has handled the operation here and their tactics. Agents seen storming homes, pulling U.S. citizens into the street, clashing with protesters. Tonight, Homan acknowledging mistakes.
I do not want to hear that everything that's been done here has been perfect. Nothing's ever perfect, and anything can be improved on. And what we've been working on is making this operation safer, more efficient, by the book.
It comes after the deadly shootings of 2 U.S. citizens, mother of 3 Renee Good and ICU nurse Alex Preddy. New video emerging tonight showing Alex Preddy confronting federal agents during a protest in Minneapolis 11 days before he was shot and killed. Preddy seen spitting toward an officer and kicking out the taillight of a federal vehicle. Agents getting out, grabbing Preddy and falling to the ground, but Preddy walked away, a gun visible in his waistband. Agents deploying tear gas, Preddy in the middle of the other protesters.
You okay? You okay? I'm okay.
Tonight, a Preddy family spokesperson telling ABC News they were aware of that incident too, and say Preddy was injured but did not seek medical attention. It was just blocks away from that scene that this moment got national attention. Another U.S. citizen pulled out of her car as she screamed she was disabled. And tonight, after that startling scene at a town hall, Representative Ilhan Omar sprayed with a substance from a syringe.
Kristi Noem must resign.
As she called for Secretary Kristi Noem to resign. The DOJ releasing this image of the syringe. The suspect allegedly said, "I squirted vinegar" after being tackled. It comes after President Trump suggested to our Rachel Scott the Congresswoman did it to herself. Tonight, we learned the Justice Department has filed a federal assault charge against the suspect. Meantime, Secretary Noem facing bipartisan calls to step down. Republican Senator Tom Tillis saying, quote, "She's failing at every possible measure of the job." Secretary Noem was in a cabinet meeting today with President Trump, along with Attorney General Pam Bondi. The president did not call on either of them, and he did not address the situation in Minneapolis. And as the administration starts to draw down in Minneapolis, tonight, another federal operation ending. This one launched just 1 week ago in Maine, after scenes like this and this threat at a front door.
We're gonna come back for your whole family, okay? No, okay, no problem.
Senator Susan Collins now saying that operation has ended after several direct conversations with Secretary Noem. Meantime, back here in Minneapolis tonight, Mayor Jacob Fry on Tom Homan's drawdown of operations, saying, quote, "I'll believe it when I see it."
Matt Rivers joins us now from Minneapolis. Matt, has Tom Homan said anything more about being in the city?
Yeah, Perry, no question that Tom Homan is striking a different tone. He is saying that he is here because mistakes have been made and he plans to fix them. But he is also making clear that this immigration operation is not going to end anytime soon, saying, quote, "I'm here until the problem's gone." Perry?
Matt Rivers, thank you. We now turn to Texas, where this week protests broke out inside and outside a migrant detention facility, the facility housing a 5-year-old who made headlines for his ICE apprehension. Here's John Quinones.
You're scaring the kid.
As major ICE operations ramp up across the country, some of those who have been apprehended are ending up here at the Dilley Detention Center in Texas. Protesters this week were outside the facility squaring off with police, demanding the release of one person in particular, 5-year-old Liam Conejo Ramos, whose apprehension last week by ICE in Minnesota made headlines.
Local school officials raising concern about the immigration tactics after they say this 5-year-old boy was detained by ICE. They say Liam Conejo Ramos was detained in his driveway alongside his father after driving home from preschool.
Liam and his dad did enter the United States at a port of entry to seek asylum. They've shared all of their information with the government, and they were following the process.
Marcos Charles, ICE's top official in Minneapolis, accused Liam's father, Adrian Conejo, of abandoning his son when he fled from federal authorities.
My officers did everything they could to reunite him with his family. Tragically, when we approached the door of his residence, the people inside refused to take him in and open the door.
Liam's family refutes Charles's version of events, saying they desperately tried to get Liam back. Now, the 5-year-old is being held with his father and 1,100 others here at the Dilley Detention Center. Drone video capturing these dramatic images of those migrants protesting outside. And this picture, obtained by ABC News, reportedly drawn by a 5-year-old girl held at Dilley for 8 months. It depicts a grim state of affairs inside.
A lot of people complained that there were medicines they needed that they weren't getting, or they were getting their medications late, that they're being served the same food over and over. Folks complained of worms and different things in their food at times. To me, DHS has zero credibility.
President Trump said that he wanted to get rid of what he called criminal illegal aliens. Were there any criminals at that Dilley center?
There is not a single criminal at Dilley, and I know that because ICE told me that.
Democratic Congressman Joaquin Castro recently visited Liam and his father in detention.
Liam is not in good shape. I was very concerned with his health and his well-being, and ICE should release him immediately. He's depressed, he's not eating well, he's asking for his mom, asking for his backpack and his hat. So, he just seemed very listless and lethargic, and he should be home.
Wants to go back to school, I understand.
Yeah, he misses his classmates. He wants to go back to Valley View Elementary. I relayed a message from his classmates that they were keeping his desk and his space for him.
How would you describe what's happening to this little boy?
I think it's a tragedy, and I think that it's part of a very vicious and brutal mass deportation campaign by President Trump that really is dehumanizing. And the sad thing is that Liam is just one of probably hundreds of kids over at Dilley. The youngest child was 2 months old.
What should happen to ICE?
ICE should be disbanded. It's become part of an abusive agency that really has abused the American people, including American citizens. They assume that these people are bad people, that they're criminals, and that they need to be repressed, when really it's a 5-year-old kid with a backpack and a hat.
Congressman Castro tells us he wants to go back inside this detention center, possibly as early as next week, and this time with bipartisan members of Congress. Perry?
We've reached out to the facility and ICE and have not heard back. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill have been trying to avoid a partial government shutdown ahead of a looming deadline. The main sticking point has been a bill to fund the Department of Homeland Security, with Democrats demanding the bill be separated from other funding bills and revised. ABC senior political correspondent Rachel Scott joins us now for more, and it sounds like there's a new development in these negotiations.
Yeah, there is, Perry. Senate Democrats announced that they have reached a deal with Republicans, a short-term deal to keep the government open and funded for now. And just moments ago, President Trump endorsed this deal. Senate Democrats are really trying to stand firm here, saying they would not agree to fund the government unless the Trump administration agreed to rein in their immigration crackdown, including requiring ICE officers to wear masks and to remove their masks and wear body cameras, and also ending those roving immigration patrols and requiring agents to adhere to the same sort of standards and protocols as state and local law enforcement officials. So this short-term deal is going to give lawmakers some time to negotiate those issues. It has to clear the Senate, and then it goes over to the House. The deadline to fund the government is tomorrow at midnight, Perry.
Rachel Scott on Capitol Hill, thank you. A New Jersey man is facing charges after police say he repeatedly rammed his car last night into the Chabad Lubavitch headquarters, a Jewish institution in Brooklyn. The suspect was taken into custody after it happened. He is facing attempted assault as a hate crime, among other charges. No information has been given on a possible motive, and there are no reports of any injuries. Next tonight, to the life-threatening cold and the potential nor'easter threatening to march up the East Coast after at least 80 deaths have now been linked to the weather. Tonight, more than 150 million people are under alerts for the brutal cold and snow. We time it all out in a moment, but first, Rhiannon Alley.
Blinding snow in upstate New York tonight, sweeping in a fresh blast of life-threatening cold for more than 150 million Americans. New York City now in the grip of its deepest freeze in 8 years. It's so cold here in New York City that ice has started forming on the Hudson River, suspending ferry service, forcing thousands of people to find a different way into Manhattan. The U.S. Coast Guard trying to keep up with the rapidly growing chunks of ice by deploying ice-breaking ships in New York Harbor and the Hudson River. Across the storm zone, at least 85 people have died. In southern Illinois, 23-year-old Luke Kitterman died rescuing his dog Bourbon from this icy pond. His mom calling Luke a gift, saying her son loved his animals and his family more than anything. In Arkansas, the weight of snow and ice collapsing roofs along this dock in Hot Springs. And in this rodeo arena at the Saline County Fairgrounds. Crews now racing to restore power for hundreds of thousands from Texas to Tennessee. In Nashville, this church distributing food to families now in need.
So you got a lot of people that's refrigerators of food that's spoiled and gone.
You gotta get a tow truck to come out here.
We first met trucker Darian Williams yesterday when he was stranded along an icy Interstate 22 southeast of Memphis. This morning, after a second night in his truck, he was still waiting for a tow.
I'm completely stuck. I ran completely out of fuel.
Late today, Darian's still figuring out how to get his truck moving again. Perry officials in Nashville say power might not be fully restored there through the weekend. Here in New York City, we won't see a break from these brutal cold temperatures until next week. Perry?
Rhiannon, thank you. WABC Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg is here with the forecast. And Lee, what's the track of this nor'easter? And is there a chance that major cities like New York could get a second straight weekend of snow?
No, we're getting more confident it's not going to be a repeat of last weekend, Perry, which is great news. Doesn't mean we can't get light snows in the Northeast, but this one's going to target the Carolinas. Big snows there over the weekend. But first, we set the stage with all the bitter cold. And if you can imagine this, it's actually even getting worse over the next couple of days. Look at the wind chills the next few mornings going into the weekend. Sub-zero in New York. 3 below Friday morning, up to 2 below on Sunday morning. Feel like 1 below in Atlanta, and it'll feel like 27 in Miami. Some of the coldest weather since 2010, getting all the way down into the southeast. So this sets the stage for the weekend storm. There are already winter weather alerts. Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia, Carolinas, all the way into Georgia for up to 6 to 12 inches of snow, especially the farther east we are, and maybe even some blizzard warnings along the coast. Saturday is the day here for the brunt of the storm, but instead of hugging the coast, it goes more north and east. And for the big cities along the I-95 corridor, it's more getting spared here, just brushed or grazed. If we're going to get some decent snows, maybe it's the Jersey Shore, eastern Long Island, and especially Cape Cod, but we're not looking at a repeat of this past weekend. But we will see the big winds, and that'll still enhance all the chill into next week. Perry?
Lee, thank you. Former Illinois Sheriff's Deputy Sean Grayson has been sentenced to 20 years in prison for the 2024 deadly shooting of Sonia Massey. Grayson was convicted in October of second-degree murder. Body camera video shows him opening fire on Massey multiple times, although Grayson claims it was in self-defense as he feared that she was going to throw boiling hot water at him. Just before Grayson was sentenced today, he said in court, quote, "I made a lot of mistakes that night." Federal officials are investigating an incident where a Waymo vehicle struck a child in California. Listen to this. Officials say in a statement the child ran across the street from behind a double-parked SUV and was then struck. This happened last week. Waymo releasing a statement saying the self-driving vehicle was able to detect the child and reduced its speed to 6 miles per hour just before it made contact. They also say the child was able to get up and walk away with minor injuries. Coming up, a murder investigation underway after a transaction on Facebook Marketplace goes horribly wrong. The disturbing details that led to the death of a pregnant woman. Plus,
this is crazy. Cannot go on forever. Please hear us. Please hear us, world.
as internet blackouts continue, we take a look inside Iran, hearing from people who have experienced the protests firsthand as U.S. naval resources continue to swarm the region. And one young woman's incredible journey. Meet the 25-year-old who paddled her way across the Atlantic by herself. Tonight, weeks into those deadly protests in Iran, today the European Union has listed the Revolutionary Guards in Iran as terrorists, all while President Trump is weighing intervention after imposing sanctions and sending more U.S. assets to the region. With the country still in a communications blackout, our team spent the last few weeks trying to understand what is going on and who is being killed. In tonight's Prime Focus, Ian Pownall looks at a regime in turmoil now killing its own people as Iranians cry for help. And a warning, you may find some of the videos and accounts disturbing.
After I stepped in the country, and it was a darkness. I risked my life because if they caught me, well, God knows what will happen to me.
I feel guilty, but I'm not dead. And the others are.
Every country needs the young people to make the countries great, and we are killing our young people. This is crazy. This cannot go on forever. Please hear us. Please hear us, world.
From defiance to death, the new year began with the largest protests to hit Iran in decades.
The reality is that Iranians are impoverished. They have been stripped of any chance of having a say in their future and in their destiny.
I go back to Iran every year, but this time was much, much different.
Were you there when the protest movement began?
Yes, I was there Tuesday afternoon.
I spoke to British Iranian musician Miraj Tehrani over Zoom shortly after returning from Iran. It was a trip that changed his life.
If you see that video when I was crying, I promise, my friend, I promise I can be your voice. That 1 week, it just made me a different person.
They plunge the country in the dark because they know that what they're doing is wrong.
Facing perhaps the greatest threat since the revolution of 1979, the Iranian regime drew a veil of silence and death across the country, controlling almost all communications in and out to stop protesters from organizing, from speaking out, to stop the world from bearing witness to the horrors it unleashed. Using eyewitness videos and testimony, we've tried to build a picture of what really took place over the past 33 days. We can't name many of those who've helped us for fear of reprisals. On December 28th, a movement was born in Tehran, protests erupting, but soon after, security forces began their reign of terror. On the night of January the 2nd, in the northern city of Azvin, protesters took to the streets, taking up a clarion call for change that was to sweep across the nation, until security forces took control. Here we see them detaining a woman. The violence escalating each day. Between January 3rd and 4th in Malikshahi, a bystander recorded forces shooting at protesters. The Kurdistan Human Rights Network reported that in this incident alone, forces killed 3 and injured 30. On January 6th, Reza Pahlavi, son of Iran's former Shah, sent out a message to keep protesting, and demonstrations escalated soon after. More than 400 miles away, on January the 7th, demonstrations continued in Rasht. The first video showing peaceful protesters inside the Grand Bazaar. But days later, protesters were brutally attacked. The market and surrounding shops of the city engulfed in flames. An eyewitness sent us voice messages, altered for his safety, describing the rampant slaughter that took place the following day, January the 8th.
The situation inside the bazaar was horrifying.
He told ABC News this was one of the routes where protesters started their walk to the bazaar, avoiding security forces near Shahdari Square. But shops in the bazaar were set on fire by the regime, believed to be revenge on shop owners for not ending their strikes. And soon, flames engulfed the bazaar. And once people noticed the fire and tried to flee the flames, forces opening fire, security forces blocking these main exit points, trapping protesters and shooting anyone who tried to leave.
They shot everyone down. Anyone who was there was shot. Some people managed to drag those injured outside. One of my friends was shot in his cuff. That friend of mine that was taken to hospital was then got arrested and taken from there.
He also told us that people have been missing since the night of January the 8th, and there are no signs of them in morgues or jails, believing the regime could be hiding bodies in mass graves.
My friend and I are afraid that the regime forces have lost control after the mass killing and trying to downplay the number of death toll. Maybe they buried our children in mass graves somewhere outside the city. 2 of my friends lost their sons. They had loaded bodies in freight trucks. Corpse all stripped. Corpse all of the girls and boys had been dumped.
Iranian state TV issued its first official death toll last week, saying over 3,000 people were killed. But human rights groups say the number is far higher. The human rights activist news agency say they've verified over 6,000 deaths in the past 33 days, with 17,000 more cases under review. But the numbers vary widely. Among the dead, Javed Ganji, a filmmaker and artist. Nasim Pouragai, a wife and mother of 2 young children. Mobina Beheshti, a 21-year-old university student, and 23-year-old Rabina Aminyan, who was shot from behind while protesting with friends in Tehran on January 8th.
انقدر انرژی داشت، پر بود از هنر، پر بود از رنگ، همه چیزو یه جورایی از همه چی یه ایده میگرفت.
Holly, Rabina's aunt, spoke with us, trying to honor a life full of promise, cut short too soon, telling us Rabina dreamt of being a fashion designer.
ولی آخرین صحنه‌ای که ازش به یاد دارم اینه که یه کت خیلی خوشگل دوخته بود. اتفاقا من هم گفت که میخوای بدم اینجا، تو بودم نرو تن تو قشنگه، ولی کاش برش میداشتم. من نمیتونم سکوت کنم، من واقعا نمیتونم تحمل کنم. من میگفت روبینا تنها نبود، خیلی ها بودن، 100 ها جوری افتاده بود رو هم. من دونه دونه باید بین اینا بگشته پیداش کنه و
And as the death toll continues to rise, each number represents a family like Rabina's now facing an unbearable pain. Photos of bodies seem to confirm accounts from doctors on the ground who told ABC News that some protesters who were injured were shot after being hospitalized. Another anonymous protester still in Iran sending us this voice message.
They killed a lot. They even killed injured people. They didn't care about it. They attacked hospitals and killed people, injured people inside the hospitals, and they take away their bodies. They ask for a very big amount of money from the families to give the bodies to them.
Iran has the support of China, has the support of Russia, has our oil resources, has weapons, has the will to kill.
The quicker the action happens, the more lives can be saved, and the sooner we can see the regime's collapse. I believe the president is a man of his word, as I said before.
President Trump has made several comments urging the people of Iran to continue to protest, imposing sanctions while threatening intervention.
And we'll see what happens. It's a big force. We have a big force going toward Iran. I'd rather not see anything happen, but we're watching them very closely.
But despite Trump's many promises, there is no relief. Iran is a country drowning in the blood of its own citizens, and now groups of protesters are asking for foreign intervention.
It's terrifying, yeah. I feel emotional, sorry for me being like this.
No, please.
It's been terrifying. It's been absolutely terrifying. I mean, people are out and they want changes and they kill you. But how come the world is not seeing us?
As the US builds up its military presence in the region, Iranians search for the missing and grieve for the dead, with unanswered questions about what happens next for the movement, the regime, and the nation.
Ian Pannell, thank you. Coming up, it is freezing across much of the country. Is any relief in sight? And what records have been broken? We go by the numbers. Apple's hit show about a grieving therapist is back for a new season. We're joined by one of the stars. Here's a look at the stories making headlines right now. Fulton County, Georgia officials blasting the Trump administration after the FBI raided their election office and seized thousands of 2020 election ballots. The chairman of the Fulton County Board of Commissioners says the move is about intimidation and distraction and says they have nothing to hide. The FBI says they were conducting court-authorized activity and would not provide any more information. President Trump has claimed without evidence that the 2020 election was rife with fraud. 150 million Americans are now on alert for brutal cold and potentially more snow this weekend. A potential blizzard is tracking toward the southeast as some cities are still working to dig out of snow and ice after that monster winter storm. At least 85 people have died in areas affected by bitter cold from Texas to New Jersey. Late today, the Senate appearing to have reached a compromise to avert a government shutdown. That deal has been endorsed by President Trump. The sticking point was Democrats wanted ICE reforms in exchange for DHS funding in the wake of the killings of Alex Preddy and Renee Good. As of now, DHS funding will be split into a separate bill and the government should remain open. We're learning new details about the violent murder of a pregnant woman in Illinois. Listen to this. Police say the suspect stabbed Eliza Morales 70 times over a Facebook marketplace transaction. Court documents revealing the 19-year-old suspect was upset about the condition of a truck he bought on Facebook Marketplace. The suspect is also accused of stabbing the family's dog. Investigators say after the stabbing, the suspect allegedly started a fire inside the home. They face first-degree murder, among other charges. Coming up, millions of Americans are experiencing bitter cold temperatures. What records may have been broken? We go by the numbers, and listen up, all you night owls, why you may want to change those nighttime habits. Meteorologists are saying not since 1985 have we seen such a widespread outbreak of cold like we're seeing right now. The eastern two-thirds of the country are experiencing multiple extreme cold warnings and soon winter storm warnings and occasional blizzard conditions, which we dig into or out of in tonight's By the Numbers. Planning a Florida getaway to Disney World, maybe? Well, in Orlando, you might see a morning low on Sunday of 24 degrees. Even further south, Miami on Sunday, a possible low of 37. These could be the coldest temperatures Florida has seen in 15 years, as record lows will also be possible. Those Florida temperatures downright balmy compared to the 43 below zero experienced by the hardy folks in Seagull Lake, Minnesota this past weekend. Right here in New York City, where icebreakers, I kid you not, have been out in New York Harbor. We're experiencing at least 12 straight days below the freezing mark. That is close to the record of 16 days set in 1961. So this weekend, more than 40% of all Americans will be under alerts for either cold, snow, or both. Coming up, Apple TV's Shrinking returns for a new season this week. We talked to one of the stars of the show, Michael Urie, about what we can expect from season 3 and a record-breaking performance by Shakira, the incredible milestone for the Colombian superstar, after the break. An icy rescue for one bighorn sheep. Is being a night owl bad for your health? And Olympic gymnast Jordan Childs is one step closer to earning a bronze medal from the 2024 Paris Olympics. These stories and more in tonight's Rundown. A bighorn sheep got a big break after falling into an icy river in Colorado. Wildlife officials found it slipping through the cracks of a frozen river and took action. A tow strap was used to pull the animal out of the water. The sheep was eventually released back into the wild after being kept overnight indoors. A 25-year-old woman who has chronicled her solo rowing journey across the Atlantic Ocean has made it to shore more than 3,000 miles away from her launching point. Taryn Smith rowed approximately 10 to 12 miles per day after embarking from Spain 46 days ago. She arrived in the Caribbean along the shores of Antigua this morning. She started the journey after reading about the world's toughest row challenge. Along the way, she saw stunning sunrises and playful pods of dolphins. She says the beauty along the journey got her through the most difficult days at sea. Are you a night owl? Well, you may be facing a higher risk for heart attack and stroke, according to a new study. Researchers found that evening-type people had poorer cardiovascular health scores than those who are not, and had an associated 16% higher risk of heart attack and stroke. The study, published in the Journal of the American Heart Association, analyzed survey and biometric data from more than 320,000 British adults between the ages of 39 and 74. The Library of Congress has announced a new batch of films that will be preserved in its archives. This year's list includes The Grand Budapest Hotel, The Karate Kid, Inception, alongside 6 silent films dating back to 1896. Films are selected based on their cultural, historic, or aesthetic importance to preserve the nation's film heritage. Team USA gymnast Jordan Childs was stripped of a bronze medal at the 2024 Paris Olympics after an appeal by the Romanian national team. The third-place finish was overturned, but Childs challenged the decision in a Swiss court. The court has ordered a new review of the case, which hinges on how quickly Team USA's manager challenged the score in the arena back in 2024. In a statement, USA Gymnastics says, "We are pleased the Swiss Federal Supreme Court recognized the flaws in the initial process and that Jordan's case can now be heard inclusive of all relevant evidence." Shakira's hips don't lie, and neither do the numbers around her record-setting world tour. The Colombian singer's latest world tour is now officially the highest-grossing Latin music tour in history. That's according to Billboard. The gross revenue of the tour currently stands at more than $421 million and includes 82 stadium shows across all the U.S. and Latin America, with more than 2.5 million people in attendance. Apple TV's Shrinking is back for season 3. The comedy series features Jimmy, a grieving therapist played by Jason Segel, who tells his patients exactly what he's thinking. One of the main cast members returning is Michael Urie as Jimmy's best friend Brian. Ashan Singh recently sat down with the actor to learn about this new season, as well as his recent off-Broadway role in a Shakespearean role.
Michael Urie, thank you so much for joining us, man.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And congrats on season 3 of Shrinking. This show is just unbelievable. Co-creator Bill Lawrence has said, you know, the past 2 seasons were about grief and forgiveness, respectively. Right. This next season is about moving forward.
Yeah.
What can fans expect, and how do you sort of encapsulate such a big theme
I know.
In a show?
I know. He likes to take on big themes. What I appreciate so much, especially about Bill, the amazing Bill Lawrence, but this show is all the characters are changing. We are evolving. And of course, the inciting incident of Shrinking was the death of Tia, the death of Jason Segel's character's wife, Tia. The forgiveness in season 2 was about the person responsible for that death. And now that, you know, it's been a couple of years, we've all kind of put ourselves back together. We get to see how these characters move forward without, not only without Tia, but without that grief. And the grief never goes away. I mean, it just changes. It evolves over time. But all the characters are at a place now where they have taken a huge step. For me, I have finally accepted the fact that I have to be an adult and have a baby rather than be the baby. My character, Brian, and his husband, Charlie, are embarking on fatherhood.
Wait, no. No stuffed animals in the crib. She could suffocate.
That was your final test. You passed.
Yeah.
It's tough to watch this show without introspecting on your own life and the relationships and sort of the world that surrounds you as just the individual who's experiencing this show. What have you learned about yourself playing Brian?
I learned about narcissism. I didn't know I was playing a narcissist for the first year and change. Over time, I was sort of like, okay, I guess he is. I started to learn that he was and embrace that. The It Takes a Village thing, I think, is really this chosen family. And I've been a part of chosen families. Leaning on a chosen family, leaning on this found family that Brian is able to do, and is sort of all of them do on Shrinking, has been quite beautiful to do. It's familiar. I relate to it, and I feel encouraged to continue it.
Look, all we can do is believe that things are going to work out the way they're supposed to. That's what everything's going to be okay really means.
That is not my favorite.
One of the things that I find so amazing about this show is you'll be laughing throughout the episode, and then by the time the credits roll, my eyes are wet.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you guys make this heavy show feel so light? How are you guys able to thread that needle?
It's not just that, like, the show's funny and the characters end up in funny situations and we laugh at that. It's that these characters make each other laugh and are trying to elicit humor from each other and be silly with each other and have from the very, very beginning. I think that is what makes it such a spoonful of sugar, this show. Like, yeah, we're talking about PTSD, Parkinson's, narcissists, grief. We're talking about real stuff. But we're doing it with levity. We're doing it with sarcasm. It makes it an easier pill to swallow.
This cast is so star-studded. I mean, Jessica Williams, the Harrison Ford, Jason Segel, and then you have Michael J. Fox and Jeff Daniels joining the show in season 3. this is an Avengers-like cast, but the topic is so human.
Yeah.
How do you guys all work together to make this show so relatable?
I think that being with a group of people who are all so on top of their game and confident and experienced, and even the young people who are new to this, they're just so good. And they fit into this world so beautifully. And now we've been doing it for a little while, so we know each other really well. And we all want to support each other. There's no rivalries, there's no competition on this set. We're all very different from each other, and we all want each other to be amazing.
Before I let you go, Michael, I got to ask you, because it's been a pretty busy year for you on stage, right?
Yeah.
Recently performed Oh Mary, Once Upon a Mattress, and then just recently Richard II off-Broadway.
Yeah.
What was that like, breathing new life into Shakespeare? I mean, there's a bit of an 80s themed twist to Richard II, right?
We did Richard II as if it took place in medieval England, but also New York in the 1980s. And it was very cool. I love when Shakespeare finds a way to organically update in that way. You know, you see like what Baz Luhrmann did with Romeo and Juliet. It just makes it so much more vibrant. This language, Shakespeare's language, it's 400 years old, but somehow it's still about us. Even though it's about an English king, it still feels like it's about us and these political intrigues and the relationships. They are still relatable and still beautiful. And it was very cool to do. It was a very special moment.
Michael Urie, thank you so much for joining us, and congrats on season 3.
Thank you so much. I hope everyone likes it.
Thanks to Ashin Singh. New episodes of Shrinking will be available weekly on Apple TV. The first episode of season 3 is streaming there now. That's our show for this hour. I'm Perry Russum. Stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks for streaming with us.